Okay, so in this lesson I want to talk a little bit about trigonometry. So in trigonometry we are dealing with triangles, and what we can do is we can actually start to look at different ratios in relation to the sides of triangles. So if we take this triangle here, so we have this angle here is 90 degrees, and let's say we want to look at this angle here, and we can call this the angle A. What we can do is we can label these sides. So a triangle has three sides. So a triangle has three sides. So we have this side here, this long side, which is called the hypotenuse. We'll just abbreviate that with a H. The side opposite the angle is known as the opposite. So just speak that with an O. And the side that is the bottom here is what's known as the adjacent. And what we can do then is we can use, we have this, so sine A, we can have cos A, and then we have tan A. So cos A means, so A is opposite divided by hypotenuse. Sorry, that's sine A. Cos A is adjacent divided by hypotenuse, and tan is opposite divided by adjacent. So cos, sine and tan, these three guys here are just ratios. So basically all you're doing is you're taking, if you want to get the sine of A, you take whatever the length of this opposite side is and you divide it by whatever the length of the hypotenuse is. If you want to get cos A, you take the length of the adjacent, which is this side here, and you divide it by the length of the hypotenuse. And the tan of A, so what you're doing is you're taking the opposite and you're dividing it by the adjacent. So this is sine A, cos A and tan A. So what you can do is, so imagine then if you were given a question something like this. So let's try out a couple of different types of kind of questions that you could get. So let me just get this triangle here. Oh. So imagine you have a triangle like this, and they tell you that this angle here is 30 degrees. So they actually give you a value for it. They tell you that this angle is x, and then this length here is 10. So what they're asking you to do is find x. So how do we go about doing that? Well, the first thing we want to do is we need to identify our parts, okay? So if this is the angle, so if we're dealing with this angle here, then this length here is the hypotenuse. Just read it down with h. This x, the length that we're looking for, which in this case is represented by x, is the opposite. It's opposite because it's opposite the angle. And then if that, so that's the hypotenuse, that's the opposite, then this has to be the adjacent. So the first thing you do is just label your parts, like label what you have. The next part then is to look at, so we can see from this problem, we are taking the opposite, which is this side, and the hypotenuse, which is this side, into account. And they've given us this angle here. And they're asking us to find out what is the length of the opposite. Let's find x. So what we do is we identify which of these formulas here takes into account the angle and then the hypotenuse and the opposite. So we can see here that sine A is the one that we want to look at. Because the reason why we want to take sine A is because it has the opposite and the hypotenuse, and we have in this problem here where they've given us the hypotenuse value, which is 10, and they're asking us to find the opposite length, which is represented by x here. The adjacent, there's no mention of it, so we stick with what we have. So the way we can write it then is we can say that sine 30 is equal to the opposite, which in this case is x, is the unknown, divided by the hypotenuse, which is 10. So then what we can do is we can work this out. So we can get the sine of 30. So we can use this. So let's go with sine. So clear this. So we get 30, and we get the sine of it, sine 30, and that's equal to 0.5. So what we have then is 0.5 is equal to x over 10. So what we want to do is we want to try and find the value of x. That's what the question asks us for. So what we want to do is we want to get x on its own. So this is x divided by 10. So we want to get rid of the 10. So in order to get rid of the 10, we have to multiply this by 10. We multiply this fraction here by 10. If we multiply this side by 10, we have to multiply the opposite side by 10 as well, like so. So what's going to happen here is this 10 will cancel out with this 10, and we'll be left with x is equal to 0.5 multiplied by 10, which is equal to 5. So what we found out then, using our formula, is that the value x is equal to 5. So this length here, which is the opposite, its value is equal to 5. So this is just one example of how we can use a triangle, and given a particular angle and given, let's say, 2 dimensions, we can actually work out an unknown dimension as well. And this can be useful then as well, because you can use this, for example, if you wanted to work out the size of a building, or there's different types of measurements or different things that you can measure using this as well. So hopefully this makes sense. It's just an introduction, and we'll go through some more problems in the next videos. So thank you for listening.